So first of all, we have what is bad news, right? So there could be a station where you have to break to a female patient that she's having breast cancer, or you have to break to the son or the daughter or the husband or wife that your relative is not going to make it because there might be some extensive road traffic accident, there might be some intracranial bleed. Okay, so these are some sorts of, I'm giving you some examples uh, which are actually the breaking bad news stations. So any information, so what is bad news for someone? If we give someone an information that changes his view about his future, that that is actually the bad news for him. So obviously it is going to negatively impact the way he was thinking about his future, and we give him some info that is obviously going to change it, that is bad news for him. For example, if we disclose cancer, if we disclose death, or any even HIV, sexually transmitted infection, and miscarriages, these are all the different kinds of bad news that we give to our patients. So first of all, these are some general tips that you can keep in mind when you are dealing with the breaking bad news station. Usually in the real life, in the clinical practice, BBN is usually not done over the phone. It is usually done face to face, but since it is an lab 2 setting, so this is an exemption. But remember it that in the future when we are doing it, we will be doing it with the patients face to face, and we need to use the correct language. By correct language, I mean that we need to avoid any medical jargons, any ambiguity, right? If we want to tell someone that your loved one has died, then you need to use the word death. You cannot use another alternative word like passed away or something like that. So you have to use the correct language, and your tone should be sympathetic, and your pace should be not very fast, like patient is not grasping what you are saying. So you have to give adequate pauses in between your conversations, right? And check with the patient or the relative whether he is following you, and also to give your patient or relative chance to express his emotions or any questions, queries, concerns. So your pace should be adequate. So again, no ambiguity in your conversation. If you want to tell someone a bad news, you shouldn't be giving him the false hope or anything false good news. Like if someone is on a deathbed, or you say, yeah, we are doing everything we can to save him. So this will be a false hope, because his condition is already terminal. So, and you need to properly, in a very sympathetic, empathetic, diplomatic manner, you disclose it to the relative that your uh, relative condition is not going to improve, right? Because otherwise the relative will die, and the patient will die, and the relative will come to you that, doctor, you said that we will do everything to save him and this and that. So never give false hope to the patient or to the relative, right? And no euphemism. By euphemism, similarly, if we want to use the word death, we will use the word death. We will not use any alternative word for that. So use the word cancer. Okay, do not use the word tumor or any other thing that patient cannot understand. And do not leave the patient in suspense. Okay, so, and do not interrupt your patient excessively. Like, as I already said, give enough pauses in your conversation for your patient to express his emotions or ask any queries or any concerns. So these are some general tips that you can keep in your mind while you are dealing with breaking bad news station. Okay, so I hope that all of you will be aware of this Spike's 6-step protocol. When we are going to break a bad news, we are going to follow this protocol, where SPIKES, these are going to stand for different things that we are going to, discuss now. So S is for setting. By setting, I mean where we are going to deliver the bad news, and what is our bad news, and to whom we are going to give it. Now I will be talking more what we will be doing in the PLAB 2 station, so it will be more easy for you guys. So in the PLAB 2 station, most of the time you will be, or it will be a telephonic station. So you will be asking your patient or relative to whom you are going to break the bad news, like, is it the comfortable time to talk, right? By this we mean the patient shouldn't be in such a situation where if we give the bad news to him, it can impose threat to his life. For example, if someone is driving and you are saying that your wife has, some serious condition and she's not going to make it, then it can put him in a dangerous scenario or situation. So we don't want to do that. So in the telephonic station, always ask, is it the comfortable time to talk to you? Is it the right time to talk to you? Maybe sometimes patient is cooking. Okay, so if the patient is cooking, you can say, or the relative, so you can say, like, can you please stop cooking for a while and sit somewhere comfortably so that we can have a chat about your general health or about your health condition or about your father's health or whatever is the case. So that will be the setting where we are going to do it. We are ensuring uh, that the other person on the line is not in any kind of danger. Similarly, if we are in a face-to-face setting, obviously in a hospital, if we are going to give some bad news to somebody else, we will ensure that we are in a separate, private, comfortable room where we are not interrupted, right? We need to make sure that we are sitting down. We should be at the level of our patient. And what means that what are you going to deliver? What bad news are you going to deliver? So in the PLAB2 setting, your task will be saying it all, that what you want to break, right? So make sure that you read your task carefully. You have all the information, what happened, what is happening now, and what is going to happen next. You have all the information. So make sure that you are reading it right. And who? So it mostly applies to real life clinical practice, like who should be with you. There could be another healthcare professional, for example, some specialist or some nurse, right? Or if we can also even ask the relative or the patient, do you want anyone else with you? And it will be vice versa as well. If someone is with the patient and you are going to disclose something about his health condition, then you can also ask, like, would you prefer to have this information alone, or would you like somebody else with you? So it goes both way. And on the telephonic station, what we will do, we will ask our the other person, today I'm going to discuss something with you, some information about your health, so would you like someone to be with you at this moment? So this is how you are going to do on a telephonic station. Okay, so this is our setting. where where means, is it the right time to talk to you, and what will be grasped from your task, and who will be like, in who we will be asking, like, do you want someone else to be with you, or do you want to be alone while I'm giving you this information? This is will be setting. This is S of the Spikes protocol. Now let's talk about perception. Okay, so by perception, I mean that when we are going to deliver some news to the other person, we need to know that how much that person already knows. So we know our starting point. Okay, and so first thing is that we know our starting point, and second thing is we don't want to surprise the other person, because otherwise it will be a shocking and a very bad way to deliver that news. For example, I'll give you an example. But most of the candidates do. You are given a task where you have to talk to the son, that the father is having the massive intracranial bleed. First, the father was unconscious. Then he was brought to the hospital, and we did some CT scan for him, and there was massive intracranial bleed. So what most of the candidates do, they do not ask the perception, and they say, what do you know? Like, your father is in the hospital, right? Do you know about that? So, and the son doesn't know about it. So it is a shock for him, and there you go wrong. So in order to avoid that, we need to ask the perception. And for perception, you can simply ask, when was the last time you talked to your XYZ, your father, your mother, your daughter? Or when was the last time you talked, uh, and how was he at that time? So it will give you a fair idea that how much this person knows about the entire situation. If we are disclosing something to a patient about his diagnosis, then we can ask, like, what you have been told about your illness so far. Okay, so this will give us an idea that where to start breaking the bad news. So this will be perception, and I tell you that this is really, really important. This will this will outline your entire consultation which is ahead. Otherwise the patient will be surprised, he will jump over you. By jump over you means he will be surprised, what, why, I don't know, this and that, and you will not be able to do data gathering then, because he will be surprised, he will be anxious. Now you have to continue, apologize, and give him the information. So in order to avoid that, perception is very important. After that is invitation, SPI. I stands for invitation. Why we obtain the patient's invitation? Because this is the patient right, if he wants to know or if he doesn't want to know. Similarly, also if it is a relative, he can deny not to know about the information. So we always give an invitation, right? For example, we will ask, I have your investigation results with me today. Would you like me to tell you the results of your investigation now? Or would you like me to tell you the details of your diagnosis today? Or would you like me to tell you what happened to your relative? And obviously, it is a lab 2 setting, they are going to say yes, because that is our task. But we have to give an invitation first. Okay, so now we have talked about situation, perception. Now we have talked about invitation. And next comes the K. Before K, I always talk about the warning shot. Before giving, what is K? K is actually knowledge. K is actually the bad news that we are going to give. But before that, give a warning shot. What is warning shot? Unfortunately, Mrs. Alex, I don't have good news for you today. Okay, similarly, unfortunately, I wish I could tell you some good news today, but I don't have encouraging news regarding your father's health today. So you give a warning shot. Okay, and then you go to the knowledge. So the knowledge is the actual bad news. So how you are going to deliver that bad news? There is also a technique involved which we call chunk technique, or we can also call it as layering. Okay, by chunk technique, I mean that there might be lots of information inside given in your task. So you cannot break it in one line, in one sentence, all of a sudden. You have to give chunk by chunk, and you have to give pauses in between. You have to let the relative or the patient express his feelings, which might be a shock, which might be anger, which might be silence. It can be a varied response. We don't know that. We have to just give pause and check with our patient. And then we will give him the second chunk of information, and then we will give pause, and then we will give him the third chunk of information, and then we will pause. Okay, and after that we will also keep on checking our patient's reception, whether he is understanding what we are conveying it to him, because sometimes the patient is so overwhelmed that he couldn't hear properly beyond a certain point. So if we give the pauses, so we make sure that our patient is with us, right? So I will give you an example so that all of you will have a fair idea how you can give the knowledge to the patient or to the other family member. Okay, let's talk about this scenario that I discussed previously, that you have to call to son, right? And you have to tell him that your father was unconscious today and he was brought by the paramedical staff. The initial resuscitation has been done, and we did the CT scan for him, and that showed that there is extensive intracranial hemorrhage, and the team of neurosurgeons have decided that the outcome of surgery is poor, so only the palliative care has been decided for him, right? So you see there are lots of information here. First piece of information is his father was unconscious. Second piece of information is we did CT scan for him, and the CT scan does not show promising results. Then the other set of information is the CT scan shows massive hemorrhage. And we also have a fourth bad news or fourth information, which is we cannot do any active treatment. We can only do palliation. So what is the right way to say to our patient or the relative? First, give a warning shot. I am afraid it is not the news you will be hoping to hear today. Okay. Then you give pause. And then, unfortunately, your father was brought today to the hospital and he was unconscious. I'm so sorry to inform you that. And your tone should be sympathetic, right? Play with your voice and then give a pause. Now, let him speak. Let him question you or let him express himself. If he's silent, you can give him his some time and you can say, are you with me? Do you wish me to proceed? And then give him the second piece of information. They are obviously they are going to say yes, because this is our task, right? So give him the second chunk. We gave him the initial treatment and we did some investigations to find out why he collapsed. And I don't have an encouraging news to give to you regarding CT scan. Then you give pause. Okay, this is actually layering. Now you are doing layering. And then after pause, you say the CT scan showed massive bleed. I am so sorry to inform you this. And then you give pause. And then you give the fourth bad news that the experts in brain have assessed your father, and I'm so regretful to inform that we are not hoping any improvement in his condition even after doing surgery. That's why it is decided we are not going ahead with surgery. So this is how we are going to deliver the bad news. This is our chunk technique. This is our layering. This is aligning the information, and this is how we are going to give pauses. So let me give you another example. Okay, for example, we have a task in lab 2 where a female has come and a biopsy has been done for her, and the biopsy shows that she has breast cancer, right? Similarly, you will give a warning shot first. First, you will do the situation, perception, invitation, give a warning shot. I wish I could give you some good news today. Then you give pause, and then you give her the first piece of information. Unfortunately, the lump in your breast is due to a more serious underlying cause. Okay. Then you give pause, and then you tell her that I'm so sorry to tell you that you have breast cancer. Okay. So this is how, you are doing it bit by bit instead of just telling her all the things at once and surprising her. So I hope everyone is clear with the knowledge part. Now let's talk about emotions. SPIKE. Now comes the emotions. So throughout the station, throughout the breaking bad news, you have to do sympathy, empathy. This will is actually your IPS, right? So how we can do that? Acknowledge and reflect the patient's emotions. Acknowledging the patient is worried right now and reflecting on that, right? I can see or I can feel, if you are on telephonic, I can feel that this is a huge shock for you. First, what we have done is we have acknowledged and reflect. Then second thing is response to the patient's emotions with acceptance, empathy, and concern. I can feel that this is a huge shock for you today, and I'm so sorry to give you this news. Right? So this is how you will structure your all the questions. For example, if he's asking you, doctor, is my patient going to die? So first acknowledge, like, I cannot understand how you are asking this question. This must be really difficult for you, and I'm so sorry for what you are going through right now. And then you answer the question, right? So basically, I'm focusing on how you are going to address the emotions and do the IPS. So this is how you are going to structure that. And after that, you will give the answer to the questions that we will discuss later on at the end, that how we can answer to the difficult questions like, is he going to die? How much time he has left with, or something related questions, right? So I was talking about emotions. Okay. And one most important thing that I have already discussed is don't lie about the prognosis. No false hope. He's in the best hands and we will try everything we can to save him. Okay, this is somewhat right, but tell him very clearly about what is the situation right now. Like, unfortunately, we are not hoping any improvement, or unfortunately, the condition is terminal, or I'm sorry that cancer is at the last stage, which means it has spread to other parts of the body. First, tell the patient the honestly the situation, and then you can say like, but we will try everything we can to make you comfortable and pain free as much as we can. We will try to do our best, but first tell them that this is the real picture. Okay. And sometimes the patient can be overwhelmed with the news. The patient can express in a way like he can become angry, or it will be shocking for him, so he will be surprised. So if he's behaving like that, don't argue with the patient. Just let him vent out all the feelings. Let him de-escalate, right? And after that, you can acknowledge that, like, if someone is saying how it can happen, like, this is, I think, this cannot even, I cannot imagine why this has happened, and this and this and that he's angry, you just stay quiet and you just acknowledge, I can feel this is a very difficult situation for you, without any judgment, without any criticism. Let him express himself, right? So these were all tips regarding emotions, how we are going to, most of the time the candidates are fearful that how the other person is going to react after receiving a bad news. So this is how you can tackle this is how you can deal with the difficult situation. And the end is strategy and planning. Yes, so, and it also includes the sympathy, right? So strategy and planning will be, what is your next step of management after you have told someone that you are having breast cancer. You must be having some plan of management after that, right? So here comes the part where you are going to discuss all this, like the scenario I discussed previously. For example, the brain bleed is massive, we cannot do active surgery, and we can do only palliative care. So palliative care is our next strategy or planning, so we can talk about that, right? Otherwise, if it's a breast cancer station, so we can talk about that, what we are going to do next, any further investigations, what will be the treatment plan, whether we are going to refer this patient to the breast cancer clinic, and all of that will be included in this part. And you will be explaining your patient about all the steps. And you, again, same thing, I have repeated this multiple times, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Tell the honestly the situation, but also tell what we can do to help you in this regard. And do not rush, address your patient's concerns. By now we can talk about the concerns, like if someone is going to ask you, is my patient going to die, like the, for example, we are continuing with the same scenario. Now we know the dad is having massive intracranial hemorrhage, condition is terminal, active surgery cannot be done, only palliation is there. So is my dad going to die? How you are going to answer that? Can somebody unmute and tell me that how you are going to answer that? Anyone? Hello? Hello, doctor? I cannot hear you. Anybody else?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Annie, how are you?
I'm fine. So, Dr. Sadia, how are you going to answer this question?
Yeah, Dr. Annie, I will say that unfortunately, I've got not a good news for you, and I'm sorry that I'm a bearer for this news. But unfortunately, like your father is no more with us.
Okay. No, if in the scenario we are discussing that there is massive intracranial bleed, and now only we can do palliation. So he's going to ask you, is my father going to die, doctor?
Yeah. So we can say that unfortunately, at this point of time, I cannot tell you like exactly to your query, but I will say that we can come to this later on in the consultation, something like that.
Okay. So your first part was right, but before that, you have to acknowledge and reflect back on the patient's emotions, right?
Yeah.
In this way, you will structure, right? I know it must be really difficult to ask this question, but it is a very difficult question to answer. But unfortunately, we are not hoping any improvement in your father's condition. So
Okay.
what we have done,
And
we have
yeah.
given him, we have told him that we are not hoping any improvement, but we have also not said that yes, he's going to die. We are being diplomatic here, okay? And we have not given any false hope to him,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
So we need to be fair and crisp in this prognosis.
Sorry.
We need to be very clear in the prognosis part.
Yes, that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. We cannot give any false hope. We
Mhm.
cannot say yes, he is going to die. So we have to be diplomatic. So we will be structuring our answer like this. It's very difficult for us to answer, but the situation is like this.
Mhm.
Okay. Similarly, will he become conscious, doctor?
It's really hard for me to answer this question. Yeah, but there is quite little hope.
So a better way to do that is first say, I know you must be really anxious to talk to your father. You are waiting for him to become conscious, but it is very difficult to answer at this moment because the bleeding in his brain is extensive and his condition is serious right now, and we don't know whether he will become conscious or not.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to there is little hope, that's right, but elaborate it in your own words.
Yeah. So, Doctor, like if we just keep on talking in that sense, also this relative can get annoyed. What do you say about that? Like, how about keeping short phrases and then we give the pauses to the patient attendant?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if he's asking you a concern, so you have to properly address it, right?
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
you will just say that, I cannot tell and there is little hope, I think this is not enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
There is little hope. It is quite what you will be say unsympathetic, right?
Yeah.
So we have
Very
to
unfair.
properly sugarcoat it and say it in a way that is less likely to hurt his feelings, but also tell him the situation right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also after that, when you are done with these concerns, after that, you can offer the relative or the patient that I can inform someone else about your health situation if you wish to. I can
Okay.
do the phone calls for you. You offer your support. You can talk about the support like I will be here. If you have any questions, if you have any questions, or if I know this must be really shocking for you at this moment, and a lot of questions will be coming to your mind after you go home, then you can always call us. We are just a call away and we can help you in every way we can. Okay, so this is how you are going to close your station.
Okay. Dr. Annie, there is a breast cancer patient who's being diagnosed with ductal carcinoma in situ. So that is also a breaking bad news station, right?
Yes, that is a sort of
But
breaking bad news.
yeah,
But the good news in that station is you can give
it's a
hope to the
yeah,
patient.
yeah.
Yeah, because it is, it is confined right now. It is
Mm,
intraductal. It is not spread to other parts of the body. So this is the
yeah,
good part of that. So you can give this is not false hope. This is the true hope. So you can
yeah,
talk
good.
about it.
Yeah, okay. So that is like a breaking bad news with some good hope. Like something is
Yeah,
good there.
you
So
can
that is
say
not
that.
totally a breaking. Yeah, okay. And there is also one patient, like there's a breast cancer patient who doesn't want any more treatment because I think she has heard somewhere that it has got a lot of side effects of chemotherapy, hair fall, and all those. Can you talk about that
Yeah.
station as well?
Dr. Sadia, that is not a BBM station. That is a treatment
Okay.
refusal station, right?
Yeah.
So the approach will be according to that. You will
Okay.
first ask why she's refusing the treatment, and
Mm-hmm.
you will first explore the concerns, and then you will start counseling her like why she needs the treatment and what will happen if she doesn't take this treatment, and in the way you will address the concerns, right? So that is a different approach, is different in that station. We will talk about the treatment refusal and demanding patients in another session.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Annie. Thank you.
Welcome. So today was a long session, but if anybody has any queries, we are going to end it now. So I guess nobody has any questions. So all the best to you guys and keep practicing.
Dr. Annie, I have a question.
Yes.
If it is a breaking bad news telephonic station and we are calling, so we will definitely going to ask that is it the right time to talk to you, and are you in a safe place? But what about if the patient or the relative is calling us and we are going to answer his question? So how are we going to address that?
You can ask the same question. Are you free at the moment to talk, or is it the right time to talk to you? I need to talk to you about your father's health. So is it a fine time for you to do that? So he will tell you, yes, doctor, I'm doing this, or I'm at home, or I'm sitting, or I'm whatever I'm doing. Or you can ask him, what are you doing exactly? So you can ask him, yeah. I think that there's no much difference.
Yeah, just get the research after.
Okay, so I think this is the end.
Yeah, can I just ask you a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please, I didn't actually get what you said. Like, are you going, like, in the beginning when you're trying to, like, in the beginning of the section, whether you're going to offer when your patient presents with a pain, like whether you're going to offer painkillers first, or when to know whether to offer painkillers first or to continue with history taking? I didn't actually get what you said there.
Okay, so you are asking about data gathering. So if you think your patient is uncomfortable, so you can ask, first ask the patient's comfort. Are you comfortable to talk to me right now? If the patient is having pain, if the patient is feeling sick, if the patient is feeling dizzy, or all of the complaints like this, you will ask, are you comfortable to talk to me? If patient says, doctor, I'm in so much pain, then you can say, please do not worry, I'm going to give you the appropriate painkiller. But for that, I need to ask you a few questions so I know the right kind of painkiller to give it to you. Can you please bear with me? Okay. So you can say like this. If he says, which will be very rarely, if he says that, doctor, I'm in so much pain, so you can say to the examiner, I would like to give my patient the painkiller after ruling out the contraindications and the allergies. The examiner will say, assume. Okay. But these days the examiner is not inside the cubicle, so they are not going to bother you much regarding that. You can just say that I can see that you are in pain right now, and I will give you the right painkiller. For that, I will be asking you a few questions. Please bear with me. I will be very quick. Okay. What if you give painkiller and you don't know about any allergies? He's allergic to paracetamol or NSAID or whatever. So we need some data gathering, right? We need to score the pain to know which kind of painkiller we want to give. If it is mild pain, it can be settled with paracetamol. If it is moderate pain, we need to give some weak opioids. If it is severe pain, we might need to give him strong morphine. So, but just by acknowledging that patient is in pain and by verbalizing that, yes, I'm going to give you the painkiller, but I need some data before that, you are going to be fine. Okay.
Yeah.